In this video, we're going to discuss our variations of calf raises to develop not only strength for the actual calf tissue, but also bringing awareness to the Achilles and generalized strengthening for the lower leg. So we're going to be doing this in two different positions. We do need to do a seated and we need to do a standing. There are two muscles in the calf. One is activated when the leg is bent. One is activated when the leg is straight. So therefore, we have two positions we have to do this in. For the seated position, which is going to be firing off the muscle that is the soleus, and the soleus is a very important muscle that we tend to undertrain. With this muscle, we need a lot of weight. So I'll be using a 40-pound kettlebell for this. However, this muscle requires a lot of weight. It absorbs anywhere from about 6 to 8 times our body weight as we run. So with that, we need weight. Roughly, our starting point that we should be able to get to is 40% of our body weight. So if you're weighing roughly 200 pounds, we should be getting anywhere between about 100 or about 90 pounds minimum to essentially start this rehab process. Now that is looking at both legs, not single leg, but we want to be getting as much weight as we can. So for our seated calf raises, we're going to be taking weight. Like I said, I'll be using a single or a 40-pound kettlebell. Basically, just in a seated position, weight on the leg, and simply just bringing our heel up. That is all we're looking for here. Now, if we have access to a gym, I would highly recommend doing this in a seated calf machine versus using the kettlebell. It just allows us to put a lot more weight on the actual tissue. Now, aside from just going up and down with this, I also want to do an isometric, so that's going to be lifting up and just holding with that heel up. Now, in the gym, as I mentioned to you, if we can use a seated machine, that is even better. Same idea, just lifting up, holding both legs up to support that. For our standing variation, just something where we can just give some support to it, and working up as we go up into a standing calf raise, standing heel raise. In a gym, oftentimes they do have a standing calf machine where you can get underneath with your shoulders and lift up in that method there. You can also do this as something like a barbell. So if we were to actually come in, I'm going to move the box, we actually could come in here under the bar and do the same thing, coming up with weight on us in that particular method. So the big thing to remember with this is we need to do it in two positions, both a standing and a seated. Do not neglect the seated variation. And we also need as much weight as we can, especially in the seated variation.